Okay, we've made it to the last part of speech now, which is prepositions. Right, so prepositions generally go before a noun and they show the relation of this noun to another word in the sentence. Often they have something to do with a location in time or space, and there's quite a lot of them, and some of them do multiple jobs. It's not too difficult to explain what prepositions are, but there are quite a lot of them and they cover quite a range of usage. But they sort of mostly fit into the time or space thing. Let's have a look at some examples. So first of all, we've got prepositions that give a location, like on or in or under or next to something or at or to, like going to a place or coming from a place or between the boxes or behind the box or things like that. This handy little chart here has a bunch that you might give to someone who's learning English as a foreign language, explaining behind, in front of, next to, between, near, all of those kind of words that show a relationship in terms of its location. The location of this noun relative to the other things is a preposition. You've also got these time ones like before and after or during or until or since or at or in, again and on. In, at and on, they work for time as well as for location. So some examples might be like, we lived here before the war, Max had a snack after the game, the kids talked too much during the test, I'll stay until next Monday, he's been here since the storm, she heard voices at night, my birthday is in December, the test is on Tuesday. So these are all fairly straightforward. You've got a preposition and then you've got the noun, and it's usually showing like relatively when it happened in time relative to some noun, like when the test happened or when the war happened or a month like December or a day like Tuesday and stuff. You can also have a couple of prepositions that show some prepositions that show like a tool that you're using or who it was done by, for example. So by hammering the wood into the wall, how we did it, the by is a preposition. If you said it was done by Max, by would also be a preposition there. Or he did it with a hammer, with is a preposition that's telling you that the hammer was the instrument that did the thing. Okay, so that kind of covers the general things that you're going to see prepositions being used for. Preposition has pre in it, so probably you'd assume that every preposition has to go pre the noun that it's referring to. Little interesting trivia question that sometimes linguists like to tell each other. English does have one postposition. Obviously, a postposition is the same as a preposition, but it goes after the noun instead of before it. Have a ponder for a second and see if you can work out what it is. It's a pretty useful one that you'd probably use pretty often. It's the word ago. So we arrived 3 years ago. Every other preposition in time is a preposition, a preposition that goes pre the noun. Ago is pretty much the only one in English that goes after the noun. Technically, this category should be called adpositions, and then you could have both prepositions and postpositions. We never use the word adpositions in English because they're all prepositions except for this one. So we just chuck this in with the prepositions. Close enough. Alrighty. Now, something that happens a lot is people say, hang on, is this word a preposition or an adverb? Because as you guys saw before in the video with the adverbs, a lot of the words that say a time or a place can be adverbs. Like when you say, I'm going to park the car over there. In that sentence, there is telling you a location, but it's not a preposition, it's an adverb. So what's the difference? Why are these two groups of things talking about the same topic? So anyway, it's a great question. Basically, and even then some words can be both. Basically what you've got to ask yourself is it in front of a noun, in which case it's a preposition, or is it telling you something about the verb, in which case it's an adverb? So if it's like, I'm going to park the car over there, there's no noun after it, so clearly that's an adverb. It's saying I'm parking the car there. There are words that can be both, though, depending on context, and then things like this happen because they can be both is the answer to that one. But for example, you might have something like a preposition like out, and then you might have a sentence like out the window. In that sense, it's definitely a preposition. It's in front of the noun, the window. So in this sense, it's a preposition, but you might have another sentence where you're using it as an adverb. And this tends to happen with something called phrasal verbs. And English has a lot of phrasal verbs. They're basically a verb that has an extra word to kind of complete it, which would normally have been a preposition. For example, just before I said out the window, but there's also a verb to throw out. So here, out isn't a preposition, it's an adverbial particle. The out is basically an adverb working with the verb to throw. Okay, now, phrasal verbs, there's lots of them. It's things like turn on, turn off, pick up, put on, get in, get out, take out, grow up, go out, come in, look for, throw away, all of these things. Lots of prepositions there, but the prepositions in these sentences, they're not being a preposition, they're being an adverbial particle because they're part of the verb, like throw away. It's like a two-word verb. We call them phrasal verbs in English. Not every language does this. People learning English have to learn a bunch of them. So let's compare where we've got two very similar sentences. I throw out the old shirt. In this sentence, it's an adverbial particle because it's completing the verb to throw out. You're throwing something out. But if I said I'm throwing the old shirt out the window, here it's a preposition because it's referring to the noun, the window. If you can think about that, that should sort it out for you. Basically, if it's in front of it, to be a preposition in a sentence, it kind of needs to be in front of a verb, in front of a noun. I'm sorry. I should re-record this slide, but I probably won't because I'm a little bit lazy. Essentially, if it's working on a noun, it's a preposition. If there's no noun there, or it's just clearly it's part of the verb, then it's an adverbial particle.